has been we haven't even copyrighted our material. We allow people to copy it, to give it away. That's what we want.
If we found Mr. Rex here, my little bobblehead, alive today, would people deny evolution?
We wouldn't deny evolution, but it'd be pretty cool. Welcome to Paulogia, where a former Christian takes a look at the claims of Christians. You likely know that Eric Hovind's father, Kent Hovind, is a well-known creation speaker. I don't typically address Kent here because so many others have done a great job of that. I'm looking at you, Logic. Finish up the series, please. But sometimes, jumping back a generation is necessary to set the stage.
You know, the biggest swamp in the world is in the middle of Africa. It's called the Lois Swamp. There were reports in that swamp from the 1700s when the missionaries went in there and said, man, there are dinosaurs still living in that swamp. The natives also talk about an animal they call mokele mbembe. Mokele mbembe? What on earth is that? Well, if you show them the picture of an apatosaurus, they'll say, yep, that's it, mokele mbembe. The natives claim these animals live underwater. They're very rare. He was there for 43 years. He said, I had 2 pygmies in my church. It killed one and ate it. One Belgian Congo biologist went up there, upriver 500 miles from his house and said he saw one, but his camera malfunctioned because the high humidity apparently ruined all the mechanisms inside. I don't know. The 2 suspected dinosaurians, Mokele mbembe and Ngubu, are observed and encountered on a regular basis. I questioned an older Baka couple. I presented them with our book of known African animals and dinosaur illustrations. About 98% of the dinosaur illustrations were rejected, except for 2, which they picked out without hesitation, that they had observed, a sauropod dinosaur and a triceratops. Now, why would people in the middle of the swamp in Africa say, oh yeah, we've seen that one?
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Well, that clip is from the 80s, more than a prison sentence ago. There wasn't really a public internet then. I'm sure Kent has rethought his stance on this since.
This is Kent Hovind, by the way, July 6, 2017. I have long contended that dinosaurs lived with man, and some may still be alive. I was a military guy in the military operation in the Congo and saw what looked like 3 dinosaurs on the river basin on the northeast corner of the country. So you met this guy from Africa, from you don't remember what country, but something near the Congo,
Right.
which is on the equator.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at the poster of all these dinosaurs. I and one other guy took pictures, but in returning to our base, we had to turn our film in. It was an order. And he pointed to 3 of them and said he'd seen them alive.
That's right.
This is an example of someone who says, look, I've seen them.
And then he
pointed to that one and said what?
He said, I've seen this one before.
Seen it alive.
Alive. Yes.
In Africa.
In Africa, near the Congo.
Near the Congo,
That's where
okay.
he was from, near the Congo.
There are reports of pterodactyls still living in Arizona, in some of the remote regions out there.
And then he pointed to
Pterodactyl.
a pterodactyl type thing that was on the poster, and he said he'd seen one of those.
Okay. There are thousands of stories just like that.
It's the eager willingness of creationists to hold up fourth-hand hearsay from non-English speaking tribesmen, all the while dismissing out of hand repeatedly confirmed peer-reviewed science, that caused me to reevaluate my young Earth creation beliefs. I mean, ultimately the New Testament is similarly second source Greek documents about Aramaic speakers. But I digress. How do these supposed still-living dinosaurs of the Congo relate to Eric?
Has there been any solid empirical evidence in the last year or 2 pertaining to the mokele mbembe other than verbal confirmation from the Congolese people? There's no question there's a dinosaur still alive in that swamp.
Yes.
I love hearing those stories. It's exciting. I don't know if they're true, but it is exciting to me.
People have seen things that's supposed to be like pterodactyls.
Oh yeah, Papua New Guinea. And
That's right.
At least Eric concedes that these dinosaur sightings might not be true. A step in the right direction?
I'm not sure what I think about it, whether it's there or not, but in a sense, it doesn't matter. Let's just say that a film crew from Discovery Channel or something took a voyage there, and they went up, supposedly independent observers then, and they're going up the River Congo, and they come across this thing, and they film it, and someone manages to catch it and stick it on a boat and bring it all the way back to the United States, put it in New York Zoo or something like that.
This is the plot of King Kong. I love that movie. The original. Not so much the Peter Jackson version.
And so people could go in and look at it. Would people go in and then say, the theory of evolution's wrong, I've been blind all these years? Do you think that's the reaction they would have? No.
And now, there's no question it would silence the criticism of dinosaurs still being alive if we found something like this, but it would not destroy evolution. I used to think that would be the silver bullet, and it really wouldn't.
That's 2 steps in the right direction, Eric. A live dinosaur would put to rest any dinosaurs lived with man debate, and we'd all concede that the Flintstones might be a documentary. And it would have no impact on the theory of evolution, as you suggest.
Mokele mbembe, if someone found that, captured it and brought it back, it would not prove in the minds of evolutionists that their theory was wrong, because they have a presupposition. Their presuppositional belief is that they do not want to believe in the God of the Bible.
No. The reason a captured live dinosaur wouldn't impact belief in evolution is that there's nothing in the theory about evolution that requires the dinosaurs be extinct. Evolution doesn't require that any species ever go extinct, though it notices that some species do. Suppose we got in a time machine to 100 million years ago when the dinosaurs were doing very well. Was the theory of evolution any more or less true then because species of dinosaurs were alive? No. The study of biological evolution is almost entirely backward-looking. Mutations occur randomly, then the environmental conditions exert selective pressure on the population and cause changes in the gene frequencies. Extinction may or may not occur. A sudden change in the environmental conditions might be so great that a set of gene frequencies that were previously successful might no longer fit with the new environment, and an entire population could be eliminated. Alternately, changes in environmental conditions might be minor, and the adaptations that do occur might not provide a significant enough survival advantage to propagate. Music distribution has changed almost entirely to digital methods over physical media. However, finding a store today that sells music on cassette tape would do nothing to change that. So it is with evolution and species thought to be extinct.
Maybe it is there, maybe it isn't, but we've seen it before. A good example of that would be the wallemi pine, pine tree that was found in Australia, even though it was supposedly extinct for 100 million years.
Yeah, that gets back into those living fossils.
It took long enough, but here we go. Actual science, the wallemi pine.
The wallemi pine?
Wallemi pine, please.
Wallemi
Get
pine.
your accent right.
Yeah. Wallemi pine cobber. That's
True blue, mate. We mentioned the wallemi because it's the latest and most spectacular one. They thought it had been extinct for over 100 million years, and then they found a small grove of them growing sort of northwest of Sydney, and so it's become famous worldwide.
Even one evolutionist has said that basically finding it was like finding a real live dinosaur.
Right, and we've already talked about evolution being common ancestry, mutations, and natural selection leading to changes of frequency of gene sequences in a population. Certainly nothing about our lack of awareness of a patch of wallemi pines was related, and the fact they were thought to be extinct tells us only about the completeness of human observation. That the right people weren't looking at the right spot is perhaps unfortunate, but ultimately inconsequential.
It doesn't matter if they say something's been dead for millions of years. The coelacanth, supposedly dead for millions of years, they later find it. What do they say? Oh, it did survive. It's not going to change their view of evolution.
The coelacanth is actually really fascinating.
Did you know this fish is more closely related to mammals like you and other tetrapods than it is to other fishes? Coelacanths are ovoviviparous, meaning females retain fertilized eggs internally, and after gestation, females give birth to live young, called pups, which resemble adult coelacanths, just smaller. Coelacanths are part of the Sarcopterygiae, or lobe-fin fishes, and one of the groups that gave rise to tetrapods, four-limbed animals, including us. This coelacanth has fins, but they're at the end of these appendages, which have internal bony elements and muscles. This lobe is the equivalent of my arm. By having research specimens like these, we can continue to learn more about fishes, but also about vertebrate evolution.
And the point you can make, folks, out of any of these millions of years is if wallemi pine hasn't changed in 100 million years, it may as well give up trying to evolve. It's not doing it very good. And so you have to ask another question, what's stopping it evolving?
Well, that's actually a really good question. Eric?
Your
Because
DNA
it's so
is actually
highly evolved already. And it's got everything it needs to
Would you
adapt to the
stop with that
environment over
nonsense?
millions of years.
Let's give you partial marks for that, Eric. The idea of highly evolved doesn't actually mean anything in biology. What biologists do speak of is fitness for survival in given conditions. If you took some penguins and made them trade places with camels, both species would fare poorly. There are no levels when it comes to evolution. What these so-called living fossils, be it the wallemi pine, the coelacanth, or horseshoe crabs, is the population of organisms well suited for their environment have no pressure to change if their conditions don't change. Of course, as biologists study the coelacanth and the shark and other animals, there can be significant genetic changes in time to the species that aren't related to skeletons, so they're not nearly as static as we once thought.
Here's what you hear from the evolutionists is nothing but criticism.
Yes.
This particular show, I'm not criticizing you. Even though you said it mockingly, you got a lot of it right. You understand there's no evidence of dinosaurs in the Congo. You understand that finding species alive that were once considered extinct has no impact on the truth of biological evolution. And you understand that species with an appearance of not having greatly evolved have remained so due to a lack of pressures to force them to change. So hats off to you, Eric. You almost understand what Charles Darwin confidently called living fossils. We were very close to not needing this video at all. But I'm not worried. I'm sure you'll be back to full misunderstanding for our next topic. Unless you secretly understood everything all along. The great mystery. Speaking of future topics, if you'd like to be notified when there are new ham and egg or science videos, click on the subscribe button and notification bell. And I'd like to take a second to thank my early bird Patreons, who stepped up to support me even before I had anything ready to go. If you'd like to help, or if you'd just like to see yourself in cartoon form in the future, please visit patreon.com/Paulogia for details. But for now, I'm off for an adventure that I hope to be able to share with you in great detail. Wish me luck. Until next time, later.